Yeah. Hey. Hey, get your numbers up. I had to get my numbers up. Now I got it like they gave it to me, but I took it, they ain't give it to me.
Hello, this is Nick Williams with the Smart Program, and you're listening to our first podcast that we're doing today. For those that are not familiar, SMART stands for the Social Media Awareness and Responsibility Training Program. I am Nick Williams. My co-founder is Brandon Elliott, who won't be with us today, but I am fortunate enough to be joined by a young lady who is making a big difference here in the Cincinnati area, an entrepreneur. Somebody that I was able to connect with via social media and some friends that we know together. So I would like to welcome to the podcast Ray Ball. How you doing today, Ray?
Hi, how are you?
I am doing very well. And any background noise you guys hear, Ray and I took the advantage of the Cincinnati weather to come down to Washington Park. We figured why not enjoy the park and the setting. So that's all you're hearing is the fountains and some youngins running around having a good time. So, all right, so let's get into this, Ray. So first, I want to tell everybody a little bit how Brandon and I, we have the Social Media Awareness and Responsibility Training Program, which basically we go around to schools in Cincinnati and across the state and hopefully eventually nationally and talk to kids about being more aware and more responsible via social media. Also talk to them about engaging with people, their brand, their personal brand, and how important it is nowadays, and how to network really that way as well. And that's where Ray comes in. We had put some pictures up on Instagram. We have a mutual friend who owns a shoe boutique. Shout out to my man Matt down at Corporate and Corporate OTR.
Hi, Matt.
And then our buddy Gerald Cooper, who, I mean, Gerald, he's all over the place. LA, New York, London. You can't lock that guy down, but he manages Young Guru, Jay-Z's producer and sound engineer, and his right-hand man. So, what up, Coop? Thank you guys for helping make the connection. But really how it happened was Corporate had put up a picture that we had put some content out, and they reshared it. I noticed that Ray had liked the photo. That got me down the rabbit hole of trying to engage with people. I saw her page and a few hungry girls with pictures of a lot of food, which hit home, because, way to a man's heart is his stomach. And, so I reached out once I realized we had those mutual friends. Gerald said yes, she's a good person, a great individual. She does a lot for me. So that led me to reach out, and that's where we are today. So, Ray, why don't you tell everybody about what you got going on between Baller Media, a few hungry girls. This young lady is a busy entrepreneur.
All right, well, just to give a little tidbit, A Few Hungry Girls is a food blog I started about 2 years ago. It transitioned into so many other things and just me making recipes and posting food pictures. Now I get with nonprofits in Cincinnati. I do things for the homeless. I do fitness events. I also own Baller Media. That is a social and digital media company. I manage companies' social media pages, create content for them, do ad campaigns, a little PR, SEO, all of those things for a variety of companies around the country.
Nice. So, as you can see, that's a big reason why we found it really important to have Ray on today, because being that we are a social media nonprofit, we really want to talk today a little bit with Ray about branding from a corporate level, but also from the personal level, okay? But also we're going to talk a little bit about why the importance of engaging the right way, maybe even give a little tidbits or a little tips on how you can search out and find people like via Twitter, the right avenues to look for, keywords, things like that, if you've got any tips for them that way, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is branding. One of the things that Brandon and I talk about a lot is now more than ever, you have to really start looking at yourself as a personal brand. You are the CEO of your own company. We always have been, but now it's not just, hey, this is Ray, she's a good person, take my word for it. It's, hey, this is Ray, she's a good person, but they're going to go search you out via LinkedIn, Twitter,
everywhere.
Facebook, Snapchat. And yes, your Snapchats don't actually get deleted. People can find them. For the kids out there, the after-school app, it's the anonymous app. There's ways for them to figure out who the anonymous person is that's posting.
And somebody will figure out a way to make apps like that, continue to do that.
But the personal brand has become a new thing. So you have to start thinking to yourself, I got a pair of Jordans on today. You need to think about yourself like Jordan or like Nike or like Adidas or Chipotle or,
right.
Oh, wait, I know that's the word I can't say. Chorito, my bad.
Yeah, that's Chorito or die. Shouts out to Larry.
No, but the reality is you have to start doing that. And so kids now have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. And that's why Brandon and I wanted to kind of start talking to them and to change that mindset. Because what you put out there lasts forever. So give us a little bit about, Ray, if you can, about the importance on the corporate side and how you help them manage that brand and what that looks like, but then also just kind of a little bit of your views on the personal branding side of it as well.
So from a corporate standpoint, a lot of companies, they're just companies. For so long, they were just a company. They didn't have a name. They didn't have a face. We just bought their stuff. Companies like P&G, they've been really good in getting into the community, and they've really taken advantage of social media. They have so many different pages for all of their different brands, but they incorporate normal people into their social media campaigns, which makes them seem normal. They're not just like a multi-million-dollar company that doesn't care about anybody anymore. Creating a brand for a corporate company isn't just putting their logo everywhere. It's making people feel like that company cares about me, so I'm going to in return buy their products. That's even when they post, they have to be very, very careful about the things they put out. They can't be too political. They can't be too left, too right. They can't be too straight. They can't be too gay. There's just so many things. They can't be too black, too white, Hispanic. They pretty much they have to be blanketed to cover all ethnicities, races, lifestyles, everything, because they want everyone to support their brands. So that's kind of short. On a personal level, you are your brand. No matter what, no matter what you wear, how you dress, how you act, the people that you associate with, that's your brand. And on social media, a lot of people are branding themselves in a way that they may not necessarily be like in real life. And the problem is when you've got 100,000 followers and that's all they see, that's who they think you are. So we talked earlier about, how some kids are like, oh, I'm a savage. Okay, so you post pictures of weed and drugs and guns, and that's what people think you are. And then they meet you, and you live in a very nice home in a nice neighborhood with both your parents working great jobs and paying for your college. That's not you, but that's what people think you are. So, someone goes on there, an employer in particular, goes on there, and they say, oh, so he smokes weed, huh? We don't need him in our life. And it's that simple. One picture literally can ruin your career. Even as an adult, especially as an adult, like one bad picture and you lose your job. Losing your job means you lose your income. Income means you lose your house. It's just a trickle down effect of one bad, mistake, and you don't want anyone to ever think that you're something that you're not. But social media is very, very good at doing that.
Yeah, I think you hit on one of the things we talk to them a lot about is, I think people go out to social media a lot of times to create an alter ego.
Right.
For some people, like a writer, maybe it is good because they can go and write things that maybe they were afraid to write in their own name,
right. Mm-hmm.
And not racist things, not discriminative things,
but something out of their comfort level.
Right. Somebody may think that they really can write really well, but they're afraid to let people know it's really them, and so they can hide. But I see too many young kids that are creating these alter egos because of what they see on music videos.
Right.
I listen to rap music. Don't get me wrong.
But not every rapper's a thug.
Right, exactly.
And that's a persona, and that's their brand.
Correct. And, and you have to look at the guys that are really living the life that they're talking about. A guy like Bobby Shmurda. You know what happened? They used his social media because they used his social media to track that back.
Right.
So I just want kids to be careful and understand there's so many other avenues you can go versus just what you're seeing in your street. But now we're all worldwide. You can see what's going on, and whatever you aspire to be, you can find out, how, the path that somebody took. I think and I'd like to get your opinion on this as being an entrepreneur and a small business person. So you talked on the corporate level how important it is, and they're able to reach out and become more personable. I think it's really made a world of difference for smaller businesses like yourself,
right,
to be able to go direct to consumer, but also to kind of help cultivate, as your business grows, you're able to look at these high school and college kids and what they're doing and reach out to them before maybe the corporate world gets them,
exactly,
and offer them a different environment. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I was looking for an intern for a while, and I'm not a big company. I'm not gonna be able to pay you. You're gonna be an unpaid intern, and you need to know that up front, which they do. But I'm able to be a social media. I can see like, oh, this kid is a so-and-so student. This is a PR major. That's what she's majoring because that's what she put in her bio.
Right.
These are positive things that people can do to grow a brand before anything else. So if I go to your girl's profile who sends me a resume and it says future alumni of Howard University, PR club, I'm in this sorority, I do this, just in your bio, that right there, I'm like, oh, okay, now I can proceed to pictures. But there's a lot of people, they don't put anything, or they'll say like socialite. I'm not looking for someone who's a socialite. Or you'll put, oh, I'm the plug, or princess, queen, this or that. I'm a bad B word, all of those things. I don't want to see that in your bio. That's not somebody that I'm like, oh, I want her to represent me.
Sure, and I mean, so all great points. I mean, one of the things we do talk to the kids about, like, look, though, if you want to be a rapper, if you want to be that person, you better own that lane. And what I'll tell everyone is that whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's the corporate world, or whether it's an entertainer, especially on the entertainer athletic side,
right.
I mean, it's 1%. That's the 1% of the world that actually made that happen.
Yeah.
And you don't see all the other work that they put in,
right.
But you really have to, and I'm not telling you to own the lane by going out and actually selling dope or doing, slanging guns. What I'm saying is if you're going to be a rapper, own that lane and understand that some of the word choice, I sometimes have a terrible sailor's mouth when I'm outside of a corporate environment, right?
Yeah.
But I learned very early on that I needed to conduct myself in a certain manner, right? And now outside of work, I'm still much better because of that transition. A lot of rappers, a lot of entertainers, they're very free with that language, and that's okay, but you have to understand if every other tweet is F this, F that, or a B word, or derogatory, or just people look at certain companies, a majority, probably 75% of the world is going to look at that a certain way.
Right.
Now, there is that small percentage, and if you can capture that audience and win,
do it.
Then you do it, but be great at it. Because at the end of the day, if there was a college football coach that we follow on Twitter, and he said, when I see a Twitter page lined with F words, I move on. He was like, that's not the guy I want. And so many of them look at that because they wonder about respect level and things of that nature. And again, me personally, it doesn't bother me what curse words you want to use, but you just have to know your audience. I mean, going back to our buddy Gerald, Gerald is awesome because he speaks to what we speak to these kids about is you have to own your lane.
You have to own your lane.
And he's very opinionated, which I love. He does touch politics and racial issues, but
you never feel offended by it.
Correct.
And I never want to judge him by it. And there's a lot of people that they post things that are so opinionated, and the verbiage that's behind it is just so bad that I feel a certain way about them. And I may know them. Like, I don't know how many times I've got on Facebook and I'll say, like, when it's around an election or, when there's a lot of shootings happening and there were so many different opinionated comments for Facebook messages and posts, I don't know how many times I saw people say, if I see this one more time, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to follow everyone who does this. And that's real.
Yeah. And so, with that, it's just, but what I love about Gerald too is, and what I love about, and what I think our kids can, because one of the things we talk to them about is respect and watch your language on social media. Now, that's not really Gerald's thing. He's going to say what he says, and he's going to move on, and he's going to own it.
But that's his lane.
And that's his lane, and he owns it, and that's why I respect that. But also, when he has those opinionated thoughts, if you challenge or question that, he'll engage in conversation, and very, very seldomly, if ever, do I see him attack somebody and make them look down because they disagree with him. He'll state his opinion. He'll articulate
exactly
way,
how he thinks and why he thinks that way.
He stays that way. Now, you may not agree with him, but at the end of the day, it's never so many times it gets very visceral between people, especially around election time.
Yes.
Or in high school, you see a lot of, this kid's not the popular kid, and so now the whole cyberbullying thing's out of control. Where
it's out of control.
Because now it's not just me and you having a
Now it's the whole
disagreement.
world.
It's me and 500 other followers having a disagreement.
And not to mention retweets. Because if somebody says, oh, that's a good jab, that's a good joke about somebody, they don't think like, oh, that's hurting their feelings.
Right.
They're like, oh, that looks good, let me retweet it. So now that's an additional 200 followers that is going to see that. And you know, on Twitter, you can track back to find where everything comes from. And then you can find exactly who someone is talking to. So, I mean, one thing that I would say to people is, you know, when you're tweeting, when you're writing comments or you're making posts, you do have to be careful. And you can, like we talked earlier, you can keep it 100 without being disrespectful. You can, it's called constructive criticism. It's not something that everyone can do and everyone can accept, but I would much rather someone be like, hey, you know you left out a comma, than be like, oh my God, you have the worst grammar in the world, you should be kicked off Instagram. There's a big difference between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's understanding that other people's feelings, and understand that you're in a fishbowl. Everybody's watching that conversation.
Right.
And even with Facebook now changing the like feature to having dislikes or this and that.
Yeah, I'm iffy on that.
You know, so the thing is, like, I might post something that I'm super pumped about, and all 500 people dislike it. How's that going to make me feel as a person? You know, but that's the risk you run when you put
something out there.
That's what you have to understand as well, and I want kids to understand this.
It goes both ways.
When you put yourself out there, you open yourself. We talked to a couple kids about this. Look, I'm glad you want to tell your story, but be prepared that there's going to be somebody who criticizes that story or makes fun of you because you're telling your story. If you're brave enough and have thick enough skin to handle that, awesome. You know, and I'm sure you've dealt with it. People, you know, questioning why you're doing what you're doing.
I've had people go off, like write books about a simple post. Like I'll say the exact post. It was about the Lauryn Hill comment, and it just said, you know, she sold this amount of records, and she never stripped. She never shook her butt in front of anybody. She wore all of her clothes. All of these things. You know, as an African American woman, that's very important to me because, you know, social media, life, and all of it is so hypersexualized. I said, yes, I'm going to post that, and I'm okay with that. I got ripped to shreds by somebody like, oh, no, so you only support, you know, black women who do this. You should support all women. It really wasn't an all women type of thing. It wasn't, I don't support Nicki Minaj. It wasn't, I don't support Beyonce or any of these people. But this particular woman, I support it. Right. But people want to put their own opinions out there, too. And I realized that I put it out there, I gotta stand by it.
Yeah, and I mean,
but I'm not gonna argue with you either.
Right. The best and worst part of social media is we all have a voice. You know, you can say what you want, but then there are the people that say what they want, and we all wish they didn't have the opportunity to speak that opinion. But you make a good point there in the sense that, you know, I look at Alicia Curry using an even bigger example. You
exactly,
know,
even much bigger.
Alicia Curry, she put something out about, you know, I won't get into the whole tweet, but, you know, she respects herself, is how I think she basically said it.
And her marriage
and her marriage and her husband, so she dresses a certain way. Well, Amber Rose came back at her because Amber Rose is the complete opposite. And then you got all these people jumping in, talking about Alicia Curry. And at the end of the day, I just have to, you know, people have to understand, I have a daughter.
Thank you. I wish you could see my face right now.
I personally want my daughter, and it's not that, to your point, I want her to look up to a Nicki Minaj because of the business chops that she had.
Exactly. She's a big business.
I'm not going to lie, I don't want her in booty shorts anytime soon.
She doesn't need to dress or dance like that.
She's not going to see the Anaconda video anytime soon. You know, I want her to look at somebody like a Ray Ball, an Alicia Curry, a Michelle Obama.
Right.
And again, it's not to say I don't want her to, you know, I think what Amber Rose is trying to do with her walk, and I won't get into what the walk's actually called.
That's a whole other topic.
I think her concept is magnificent. It's about telling people...
Exactly, the concept is right.
Telling people, women especially, not to be ashamed of your body.
Maybe how you're portraying it.
But what you're saying...
Iffy.
It to me, it just speaks up. But again, we won't get there
But on another end, she's really used social media to get her message across. So you can't knock the message, obviously. But, you know, so many girls are seeing that. So you think of a very impressionable, because with girls at 15, 16, 17, we're still very impressionable. We're still very media driven. We see that and we're like, you know what? She's doing that. I should do this. I can do this. But it's not necessarily something that you're going to get a job doing.
Yeah.
Amber Rose has made it. She's in her lane. That's her lane. She makes money doing that. Let her do that. But the majority of women, we can't do that. We have to, dress well. We have to carry ourselves well. We have to speak well. We can't always post every single bikini picture online. We can't make twerk videos, and put it on Vine or even on Snapchat because we know it's going to be there.
Right. And
we can't do that.
And it kind of leads me to kind of cap in this or bookend this, I guess. Talking about Coop, people don't see all that went into him working for Clear Channel and him
and hustling,
like hustling.
Right.
And he was still opinionated, but in a different level. And he still did his thing on the outside. But what we try to talk to kids about, I worked at one of the most corporate, conservative places in this city.
Yes.
They at one point looked at the haircut that I have right now and said, "Yeah, you might have to cut your hair."
Got the Regentified haircut.
Right? Like, so I don't know about that, but at the end of the day, I chose to work there.
Right.
So I had to. I hate to use the word conform because I don't want anybody ever to feel like they have to conform because it has such a the meaning behind it can go so many ways. But you do have to bend. You have to give a little bit. If you want to get to a spot, not everybody's going to walk out of college and be the entrepreneur that can support themselves right away.
Not everyone's going to make $100K coming out.
No, and kids, that last statement, I will reclip this. You're not going to make, as a hiring manager, too many kids come out of college thinking they're making 75 to 100.
You're going to make 30
You're
going to
make 30 to 35,000.
You may or may not have benefits.
Take advantage of the opportunity and learn what you can. And if you have the entrepreneurial spirit and the ability to go out and take the chance, please do. The product, the delivery, whatever it might be. But understand you're going to have to bend a little bit. You may not always get to be the savage. Or you may, if you're going to be super political, understand that you might not get to work at that left-wing or right-wing company because they don't agree with what you say.
What you're saying.
So, all that said, so branding, I think we talked a lot about why it's important. I mean, just understand, I think one of Brandon's line is that if I see you posting nothing but sneakers, I'm going to think you're a sneakerhead. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're with the basketball all the time, I'm going to think you're a hooper.
Ball is life.
Right, ball is life. Some of you, ball should not be life. I've seen the videos, but that's okay.
But you try hard.
That's your freedom, right? But, so what you put out there, if every video out there is you twerking,
we're going to think that's what you do. You could be an honor roll student.
Right.
But we only see your brand as what you put out there.
Correct. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but when you go to apply at a job, for the guy or the young or the lady that's in her 40s, 50s, and 60s sitting across from you in a very formal setting, and that's what they saw, it might not work out. Now, you might find 100 other places that it's going to work out at, but here's the deal. Not for everybody. There's a teacher that just got fired. She was on spring break. She's from Mexico. She went to, I forget where they went in Mexico. Or they went to Cabo San Lucas. She entered the twerk contest.
Okay.
Needless to say, she won the twerk contest and $260.
Okay. Maybe got a half ticket.
Yeah, she was in her bikini. And at the end of the day, the crowd loved it. I watched the video. It's over. It's not just her twerking. So when I say, hey, I have no problem with people dancing. I don't care if you're at the club and you and your girls or you and your guys are doing what you do. And you put up a video here and there. But this teacher,
there is a difference.
This teacher got fired when she got back. Now, she's fighting it. She's getting her lawyers because it's why are we discriminating on her gender? Because just, I'm a woman. I wasn't doing this or that. But teachers are held to a different standard. So you have to know your role. There's 100 jobs out there. She could have been a bartender. She wouldn't have got fired. Right. She could have been a salesperson.
Tattoo artist. She could have been a singer. Anything.
She could have been a salesperson. She might not have got fired.
But you're teaching people's kids.
Yep. And as a parent, that's not
something that
we just talked about it.
Right.
She might teach 6th, 7th, 8th graders. I don't want my son or daughter to follow that person on social media and find it. Now, she didn't post the video, and this goes to another point we talk about a lot. It's not always about what you post.
Other people.
To your point, what gets shared, what gets retweeted.
You could be on someone else's Snapchat.
You can go viral and it not be yours.
You could be turned into a meme at any point.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the other thing about it that we have to remember is that we need to remember that this is creating a good effect, I think, and a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk that I listen to a lot, he said it's actually kind of weird because social media has created this world where people should be trying to be better people because everything we do
is being seen,
is out there. We're all our own PR company, at the end of the day. So, All right, so that's kind of a little bit on the branding side of things. Now, as far as, let's talk a little bit about engaging and reaching out to people. How do you go about that on the, on your side of it? How do you?
Well, from a corporate level.
Yeah, from the corporate level.
From a corporate level, engagement is probably one of the most important things that you can do. It gives brands a voice, and typically it is a human being doing it. It's me, it's another woman, it's a guy who is that voice. So when we speak to you, we come from a very genuine place. Like if I comment on someone, one of my companies I work for is a nutrition company. So if I see that you're doing great fitness work, I'm gonna put great work under your comment, and you see that from a brand, and that makes you feel good inside. So sometimes we get engagement that's not good. I mean, I've had people literally cuss companies out before, and you have to manage that as well. Thank God you can hide and delete posts, from a manager standpoint, but you still need to address that, because that post could have been up for an hour, and how many people could have seen, someone could have screenshot it, and then those comments can easily become viral. So, nipping things in the bud quickly when there are problems with engagement is also, very important. Like I said, I've had people engaged with me with negativity. I can't engage back with negativity. I don't care how mad, how heated I am. Sometimes I had to take a break. I had to take a step back. It took me 2 days before I responded. And I just said, I'm entitled to my opinion. That's it.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
sometimes you got to take a step back when you're engaging with people on a personal level. It can get very catty very fast. And the bad part about it is just like with sending text message emails. Your voice can be misconstrued so easily by using exclamation marks, by capitalizing letters, because we see that as anger. You can't get into the personal stuff. I mean, someone can say you're ugly, you're this, you're that. Clapback season, that's a hashtag. It is very funny, but it causes a lot of drama. You think about it, I see you, you clap back at me, and I see you at the club. People who don't have any sense, that can easily turn into a fight. That can easily turn into an altercation, because people's feelings are hurt. Now they're embarrassed because everyone can see it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. You don't ever really know truly who you're dealing with behind that social media avatar, if you will. But yeah, I mean, and I think, a line that we kind of talk to the kids about a lot too is not everybody's Kevin Hart. A comic gets away with pushing a lot of envelopes.
A lot.
Ray and Nick, we don't get away with pushing away those same envelopes because, I become this, or I'm becoming that, or, so you just have to be careful. Don't everybody, it's great if you're a funny person. I'm not telling you not to be funny and show your sense of humor, but understand not everybody's Kevin Hart, and there's different standards for everybody. And to your point about posting, I had to step away. One of the main things we tell kids, we have 4 questions we have, kids ask themselves before they press send, and number 1 is, am I upset?
Right.
Because the reactionary hate that you would potentially put out there is maybe not your true self, but we all get in that moment, whether it's been with a brother and sister. Brandon and I have had times, I'm sure you've had times with your best friends.
And you say things you don't mean.
And that's not necessarily true to who you are, but we all have those instances. So, yeah, I mean, and so when we talk to kids a lot about who they look up to, if you want to be so-and-so, if I want to be the next Ray Ball, a nice way to do it is go out to Twitter
and tweet me.
Correct. I mean, do you see a lot of success, personal, corporate, where you've reached out to people and they respond?
Yes. There have been people from a corporate setting. I've had people who wanted to be ambassadors for a company. They'll just tweet me, or they'll send me a DM message, and they'll say, I want to be involved. How can I be involved? That was the easiest way. You didn't have to fill out an application. You didn't have to call me. You didn't have to do anything. You literally sent me a tweet that said, hey, I want to help. Good. I got somebody on my team now. From my standpoint, reaching out to people, you don't always have people's email addresses. Sometimes you do have to slide in a DM and say, hey, would you like to be featured on a blog post of ours? Can we feature you for Women Crush Wednesday? We love what you're doing. You're so inspirational. And then we have someone who is now part of our team as well, that we didn't have to pay for them. We didn't have to go through PR managers. We didn't have any drama. You could say yes or no, but I mean, engagement and reaching out to people is very easy to to grow and build relationships that way. And social media has really helped that. Like I said, I have a friend, her name's Princess. She is the fashion blogger. Obviously, I can dress a little bit. I prefer sneakers and joggers, but I met her purely because she posted, "I love this food. Oh my God, your food looks so good," on my pictures. And one day I was like, "Let's meet up," and that's what happened. And now we're friends. So it's just, yes, reaching out on a personal level. If you want to reach out to a celebrity, you never know who manages their accounts. Sometimes they literally manage their accounts and they'll write you back. I had P.D. Pablo tweet me back once.
There you go. So last but not least, I think we're about out of time.